Good morning, everyone. It's Joker, and today we are back with another slime video. And we have finally received a single target DPS Rimuru. Forsaken Future, Evil Demon Lord Rimuru, Alternate Universe Rimuru. And he is not what everyone expected, and it's quite unfortunate. He is still a solid unit. Let's not take that out of context. He is very good. He just, for me personally, was not quite what I wanted him to be. It doesn't mean he's bad. No, it doesn't mean he's terrible. It doesn't mean he's garbage. It just means that he is going to see a little bit less usage than I thought I was going to. So, we've already gone over his kit multiple times, so he's single target. He has a stacking alt gauge increase for Earth and space units. Every time you use a protection skill, it goes up by 10 at a max of 100%. We're going to show that off. And then he also lowers defense up to 20% if it was maxed out. And then his second skill is the Hero 2.0's orb swap, but this time into a blue orb. And for some unforsaken God knows reason, it costs 15 points instead of 0. And let me tell you, over the past... I was using him for 4.5 hours last night, and I've been using him pretty much ever since I woke up today. And this 15 points doesn't seem like a lot, right? But it can impact your run in a terrible, terrible way. I've been playing the raid event, and there have been numerous times where I have been like 5 points shy because I have to use this skill, and it costs points instead of the heroes, which costs nothing. Or I've used it like twice already, so now it's up to a 25 point or 35 point cost or something like that. I don't remember, but it's like if this was the hero skill, it would still only cost 15 because I've used it. The first one didn't cost anything, so I've definitely run into a few times, and I will showcase that in this video. But let's get started. Let's show off his stacking alt gauge first. Also, this is going to be a long video. I will put timestamps in the video description, but I'm going to use him a lot so you can get the full picture. So it's going to be like a 40-minute video or something, so just, keep that in mind. Timestamps are in the video description. Let's move on. Okay, so here's an example of maxing out Rimuru's skill. So we're on turn 7. This is Inferno 3 of Beatdown Battle. And we have used enough protection gauge to guarantee that Rimuru gives us 100% alt gauge. So we've used it 8 times now. And as you can see, like Guy, he's been done for a while. Rimuru needs like 60% or something, and Xion is not even, we just used it, so she's lacking. But we could do this instead. And we could bring in Valentine for Xion. Or not, because we swapped her out. So we could bring in Violet, I guess, is who will do that. So we'll do that. And then we'll use this skill. And then boom. Boom. She's almost done. Rimuru is done. And I think after these orbs, she's going to be done too. Yeah. She's super done. Okay. So there is, the effective use of, building up this skill. These are space and earth units, so they all get the benefit from it. And now, we can get one more stack of this, and then we can just fire it off, of which we have 3 EX alts and, 2 of the support units, so we're going to have to swap Rimuru out, because he doesn't really benefit from being up front. Like, he is a single target nuker, and we could, in theory, use Guy and then swap him out. And then we can just nuke with Rimuru, which I think is what we'll do because this is Rimuru Showcase, right? So let's do that. So we'll give him the crit, we'll give everyone the alt gauge, or alt damage, and then Guy will come out, and then Valentine can come in for Guy. And then we can use the 50% attack buff, and then the 40% crit resistance down because it's now turn 8. And then, what do we do after that? We do this, and how much points do we have left? Ooh, just enough. So let's actually get Valentine out of here now. And then we'll do one more stack of the crit, and then we'll do the extra crit damage, and then alt resistance down. and then we'll see how hard Rimuru hits. Because the last time we did this, you know, we had this team essentially, but we also didn't have the defense down by, I think 18% is what I have right now, because I didn't max it out. So, you know, if we were to use Guy, he would do more damage, but also we didn't bring Dark Valentine for the extra ult buff, so we're actually not going to hit as hard. So, how much health does he have left? He has 1 million health and change, so we're going to send Violet's ult first, and then Rimuru, and then we'll send these two, and we'll see what we do here. Violet does 452, Rimuru does 1.27 million damage, which is very good. You know, millions of damage is good. Guy would have done, technically, if he was at the same dupe level as Rimuru, he would have done the same amount of damage, though. So it's like, we had a single target Earth unit already. You know, we got another single target Earth unit. Neither of them have anything that will up the damage considerably. Yeah, the 20% defense down, like, cool. That does help us, technically. But there's nothing that's really pushing one or the other over the edge, right? And Rimuru, apart from, you know, giving the EX ults, which is very powerful, I'll show the next, you know, segment we do, we'll show off a little bit better. But apart from that, it's like, did we need it? Like, yeah, having triple EX ults almost guaranteed is cool and all, but in a stage where you're fighting one opponent, and you're maybe Jubilee, and you're going for the big-time nuke, you're probably not going to send 3 EX ults. You're going to send, like, a bunch of normal orbs to get them very low, and then 1 EX ult, of which you can spend 8 turns building up to. So it's kind of like, I almost will say overkill on the gauge. It'll be good for, like, a turn battle, turn limit Jubilee, which I'm pretty sure we'll get a 1-in-1 for that. But let's come back to the stage in a different kind of team format. Okay, so we're gonna bring this team now: Velzard, Guy, Violet, Dark Lumi, Rimuru, and EX Rimuru. And this is going to be a showcase of, you know, stacking up a few times with Rimuru to give Guy the EX ult so we can force just the kill before turn 8. Because essentially, you know, we have the same buffs on this team, if not a little bit better, for prior to turn 8. Because EX Rimuru is here, and he's giving 65% physical attack, which is 15% more than what Lumi's giving, and he's giving a 20% physical resistance down. Like, with Lumi, we have to wait till turn 8 before we get the full power effect. With Rimuru, we can just do it whenever. So, theoretically, like, we could probably kill at, like, turn 4 or 5 with this team right here, because we have the extra ult damage from Valentine, we'll have an unrestricted physical attack buff from Rimuru, we still have Violet's buff, we still have Guy's buffs, so it's like, this, you know, if you don't want to go 8 turns, and you just want to force your will upon them, this Rimuru will definitely help you do that, because you can get Guy's EX ult, you know, in 4-5 turns very, very easily. And then it's like, then do we even need Lumi? Like, is this actually kind of negating Lumi's existence? Because Lumi is very gimmicky, right? She's got the whole, like, you can spend 70 points, you can get an extra protection gauge, which will then stack up Rimuru's skill, which is good, but her physical buff, like, you have to go 8 turns, and if you don't want to go 8 turns, like, you just bring this team. You know, EX Rimuru, the Fount of Wisdom one, will cover your orange orb change that we don't have because we're not bringing Xion here. He's covering the buff that Lumi was gonna give us in a better format because we're not going 8 turns. Okay, this is pretty good right here. So let's do this. And then we'll do 2 stacks. I have the alt gauge charm on Velzard, so this is going to give 26% because we're going to use it twice to Guy. So that's already pretty good right there. This is also what, 2 stacks on top. So now we're at 40% alt gauge if we had enough points to use it. So let's just go ahead and send this. This does not get his alt, which is good because that'll allow us to get it next turn. And then I think we'll kill turn 5 with this, and we're going to do plenty of damage. So, yeah, Yeah, that worked out. Okay, so we can do Velzard. Another stack, there's the ult for him, but it doesn't take effect. So let's do a ult damage stack right here. Get him nice and healed up. And then we can get Lumi out of here. For Violet, use Violet Steel, and then use Guy's Orb Change. And then we can just use this. It's now up to 50%. So we're going to get an extra 50% ult gauge right here. And boom, right there. And then do we actually get an ult? We do get an ult. We have 197 points, so we don't have quite enough to use all of the buffs, right? Because we would need 240 to use the Guy buff, the Rimuru buff, and the Violet buff. So we'd have to go an extra turn to get everything, which is fine because this gives us another turn to stack with Violet. So let's do another damage stack, not Violet, Valentine. And then let's do the orb change here. Guy can come out for Lumi. Alright. And then we can use Rimuru's orb swap, 15 points right here. And then we use this. So orb swap, turn that into a blue. Cool. There's another 20% ult damage. And then we can bring in EX Rimuru, technically, for Valentine. And then use his orb change. And there we go. There's a full 6-hand send. So there's, both of his skills in effect right there. It worked out pretty well. And now turn 5 comes up. We're going to have maximum points, 2 more stacks of Velzard, and Guy is going to kill in 3 turns early. And he's going to do plenty of damage. Because what? Rimuru did 1.2 million last time on turn 8? And, Guy technically is 120, so he's got extra stats, he's got that extra 20% ult damage, but, we didn't need it. we didn't need it, so you're coming out, and then we'll do 2 stacks here, another stack, takes time, alright, there we go, so 1, 2, 3. Boom, boom, boom. So we're at turn 5. He still has... What does he have? He has 50% extra defense, and none of the other stuff matters. But he's got minus 20% physical resistance and 55% ult. Guy is sitting at 92% attack, physical attack 65, guaranteed crit, 40% crit damage. The ult is 120%, and the orc has 1.15 million HP, and guess what? It don't matter. Goodbye. 1.3 right there. Turn 5. So, Rimuru definitely can force, the EX ults to come out, and if you can get a decent hand and a decent setup like that, you can kill things faster, because you have just that much more power, and the team doesn't hurt for points normally. And we did see, him, using both his ult gauge up, which helped Guy, and then also his orb swap, so we could get that full hand of blue, so we could get enough points to nuke on turn 5. So, I mean, he does have use. He has use, and he can definitely make Earth and Space units look good. However, there's only very limited Earth units that he can make look good. Space is a different story, which is where we'll go next. Okay, so next fight, we're going to go into the Space 2.0 Tempered Edge, EX3, and we're going to use an AoE-focused team. Also a blue-focused team. Velzard is still going to be buffing up both the AoE Valentine and Violet that we got for this meta. Rimuru is here to give them ult gauge, and then Albus is here for green orb changing and the Pierce buff, because these enemies do have a little bit of crit resistance, which technically we could negate, but we're going to bring Albus instead. And then we're going to bring Shuna for the orange orb changing and the ult buff. So, realistically, I don't think this stage nerfs blues. At least, not in like the bad way for gauge increase. I think it does damage. We'll find out when we get in there. But, these are 2 very strong AoE units, and this is an AoE-focused stage. There's 3 enemies, so we should be able to, with EX Rimuru, give Valentine and Violet their EX ults and wipe the floor. And while having, you know, multiple good buffs on the team with having decent orb changing, because we've got the Stealer, we've got a green, and we've got an orange changer. So let's, these stages don't have set hands, so we'll have to come back for a time when we actually get good RNG. Alright, we got a good starting hand, so, well, at least we can make it work. So, we're gonna bring in Violet for Rimuru, and then we're gonna bring in Valentine for, I think, Albus. That way we get some extra points from Shuna. Actually, we're gonna lock in our, you know, our... Actually, no. What we're gonna do is we're gonna steal these. We're gonna leave our orb changers up front, and then we're gonna bring you in for Violet. Alright, so we'll do that. Send this on Millum just because. We're leaving a water unit up front, which, you know, could be a bad idea, but whatever. We only get binded for, what, 1 turn? Okay. Well, ain't that something? Well, there's not much we can do about that, so I guess we'll just stick with these two, and then we won't stack up, because we'll be missing it. Actually, we're binded for 2 turns, so we might as well stack then. Alright, so Valentine gets a little bit extra. We'll send these over here. 107 points, another stack of Velzard that Violet's not gonna get. Okay, that works out. So it does nerf blue damage, but not blue gauge, which is important. I'm okay with doing less damage on my blue orbs, in turn for keeping my lots and lots of protection gauge. So let's do this and that. We'll be unbinded next turn, which is good. And then we'll get another stack on Valentine. So she's got 2 stacks ahead of Violet now, so she's going to hit harder regardless. We'll send this on Dino, actually. Not that people do a lot of damage. Albus has an ult, so I mean, that's cool. 1400 damage on these orbs isn't bad. We are stacking up our attack, though, so like our orbs will do more damage, technically, over the course of the battle. But Shuna needs to go away. Shuna definitely needs to go away. So let's use her orb change. And then let's get Violet in here for Albus. Alright, that pulls in another green, so that's unfortunate. But we can make it work. So let's use the orange orb change. And we have enough. Ooh, we do have enough. Okay, so there we go. Let's do Valentine's extra gauge right here. And then we'll bring Rimuru in for Shuna to go ahead and swap that blue orb. So there we go. That's some good usage right there. Let's get 2 stacks on everybody. So Valentine's up to 4. Violet, this will be her 2 stacks right here. And we're going to be looking fairly good. So the next turn, we're going to have, you know, what are we at right now? 60, 70%, maybe actually 80% because we've used it so many times, right? So let's do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Let's spread it out. Yeah, so we're going to get 80% ult gauge on turn 5. I mean, that's not bad. Definitely not bad. And we're doing a lot of damage because they're both buffed up. You already have an EX ult, so it's like using it on you is just a waste. So what we what we can actually do is, you know, for funsies onesies, let's get 2 more stacks on. So this is 80 or is this 90? Hold on. This is 80%. All right, math is hard. Okay, so let's get Albus out of here since you already have an EX ult. Let's get you in here. And yeah. Oh, I should have brought you in first. Oh well, that was my bad. But let's go ahead and swap your orb. Let's give you the ult gauge. Boom. Boom. And now Violet has an alt. Albus, unfortunately, I forgot, is not Earth and Space, so she does not get the extra alt gauge. So that is an unfortunate side effect right there. So let's go ahead and take Rimuru out now. Yeah. Let's use this orb change. And then we'll just get Albus out of here. And then we'll use this orb change. Okay, and then we should be ready to rock and roll. Hopefully, Shuna doesn't die. I'm gonna be real upset if Shuna dies here. Because I think we could probably wipe. Alright, there's a guard. Defense up. 1, 2. This ult. Alright, cool. I thought it was AoE, but it's not. Oh, she didn't get hit once. Perfect. Perfect. Alright. So, we could either let it go one more turn to turn 7, because we could force the EX ult for Violet, and Rimuru, technically, probably. Or, we could try and nuke now, with the power that we have. How much health did they have, actually? They only have 115,000. I don't think we need the EX ult. You know what? We're not going to do it. We're not going to do it. We've showcased, what we can do here. Let's just get 70% alt gauge right there. We can get Shuna out for Valentine. And then we can get Rimuru out of here. Well, I mean, we have enough. Actually, they already have defense down, so it doesn't matter, right? That's still left over. Yeah, it's still left over, so we don't need to use it again. It doesn't matter. So let's get Rimuru out. And then we'll get a whole bunch of buffs going. So this is technically our 7th stack of this, right? Yeah. Alright, so pop, pop, pop. There we go. So we've got the alt damage, we've got pierce and pierce resistance down, we've got technically crit damage, which we're not critting, unless we do it naturally. But we have the physical attack buff, and the crit resistance down, and the crit damage, again, doesn't matter, because we're not on turn 8, and we're not critting anyways. But this works out. Let's go ahead and send this ult, send this ult, send this ult, and we'll see if we can actually just clean up here. Hundo. Well, we only needed one ult, technically. Yeah, it's a shit ton of overkill, and the old Tempered Edge stages just they don't have the HP. But that was a good showing for Rimuru assisting with this team. I mean, probably we could have killed like 2 turns ago. Realistically, we probably could have just like used 2 of the buffs and said call it good. But science is fun, right? Yeah, that worked fairly effectively. Let's try something else. Let's try the other Space Tempered Edge stage. So the next stage we're going to go into is the old Space Tempered Edge against Space Milim, who's, not a difficult opponent nowadays. But we're going to use an old Space team, almost. Veldora, Albus is here for the orb changing. I'm not really going to shoot for her 80-point skill, because I don't think we're going to get it. But we're going to see if we can put Rimuru to use here on a team that our primary damage dealers are not EX units. So it's like, is he actually going to serve a purpose here? I don't know. Let's find out. Alright, so this stage really actually is an example of where Rimuru is not really needed. So we're on turn 5. Milim has a whole bunch of resistances and guard until turn 6 is when it drops. So she's about to lose it. We have ults for all 3 of our space units, Hero, Milim, and Carrion. And we haven't even used his skill yet. And it's like, there would be no reason to use it now. I mean, we would get another 70% alt gauge, which would be cool and everything, but 1, this stage isn't very hard. And 2, if we were to use that now, we actually wouldn't have enough points to come back and do all of our buffs next turn. So, because these units don't need EX ults, right? They don't need oodles and boodles of alt gauge, he's not very effective on teams that are not EX focused, which, yeah, this team is a year old. Like, Millum is a year old, Carrion's a year old. So yeah, they're not gonna, keep up with today's meta. And I could have brought the team that I used in the last segment into this stage, and we would have been just fine, probably. Because this Millum only has 200,000? 252k HP, and what, the EX alt from Valentine did 400 something? So, I mean, it's unnecessary, but, like, we're gonna do this. We're gonna have enough points to use the crit buff, the space buff, the crit damage, and Drago, and we're gonna annihilate this Millum, and we have actually not used a single orb from Rimuru. And it's because it's unnecessary. We didn't need to. So, I mean, we're gonna do that, and that, and Millum is gonna annihilate herself. Right? Let's do this. And Millum's ult comes out, and yeah, there we go. Like, we had no use for him. So we could have, put his slot. He could have been another orb changer. He could have been maybe a buffer. He could have been like the hero 2.0 and given us more damage on our orbs and, lowered the resistance for the same cost almost. Actually, the same cost, yeah. So here is a team where Rimuru's alt gauge is redundant and unnecessary on a team that doesn't need a ton of ults, or a team that you physically can't nuke until a set amount of turns pass, and by then you already have the ults. So we're going to begin the downward slope now. We've shown what Rimuru can do in a good setting to support his teams. Now let's start the decline of usefulness now, and we're going to do that by looking at who he's buffing. Okay, so we have filtered by Earth and Space units. And you know what? There are a number of people on here that will benefit from Rimuru's alt gauge, but not in the ways that you think it would. We have the new current meta, right? The 4 of them. We have EX Miran. We didn't use Rimuru on Space Millum, Hero, or Carrion. We have a whole bunch of very old units here. Yuki's here, but he's a Valor Cup unit, and I'm not bringing this Rimuru into Valor Cup. And then we have a whole bunch of 3 stars, 4 stars. We've got the Earth units, right? The sad reality of Earth units is that Soe, mid. Valentine is power crept out. She's still okay. You are a support line unit, and that is it. You're a healer. You're an orb changer and defense-oriented. You're actual garbage, actually, I'm sorry to say. You're trash. You're pretty trash. You're decent, but again, defense and healing-oriented, and you're not really that good. So, Earth units, and then we have Betty Mara for the Orb Steal. Not really a priority for buffing Earth units until we got Gaian himself, and EX Miran. We'll test him out with EX Miran, don't worry. But like the other space units, like you're not EX, not EX, not EX, not EX, not EX, not EX. No, none of them. There's only so many units that can really fully, truly benefit from getting 80, 90% extra alt gauge when you are ready to nuke, because by that point, all these other units are going to have it already. And, the Space 3.0 team, Yuki and Shion and all that, and Shinsha, they run on greens. They don't need a blue orb swapper for this, because this takes away from what he wants to do. You'd better be off bringing the Hero 2.0 to swap that orb into a green, which they would feed on. Earth 1.0 definitely doesn't do blues, they do oranges. Space 2.0, again, a green-focused team. So his orb swap is not needed, because one, again, none of these units have EX ults where you're just going to hold it in the back and try and get more alt gauge for them. It's not necessary. And then you're changing to an orb that their team can't run on. So here's where the deficiencies in his kit come out to play. And a lot of people are going to be like, you're being overly harsh, he is buffing good units. And you're right. He is buffing good units. The units that you have to pull for that are brand spanking new. Guy, Violet, Valentine, Murin, not the easiest unit to acquire, alright? Rimuru himself took me to pity, right? This is not... You want to, summon on worthy banners, right? Banners who have good value for your crystals and who will benefit multiple areas of the game. This Rimuru is on a single banner, which already detracts from the triple power banner of Violet, Valentine, Velzard, Valentine, and Guy. And also, he's not helping that much of the game because there's 5 other typings that he's not hitting. Right? We saw that in the previous clip where he didn't buff Albus at all because she's dark. We could have given her an EX ult, that would have been cool, but she's not Earth or Space, so... let's, yeah, so we're gonna run from at that. Let's put him on the Earth team and let's see how it goes. Alright, so just an example of, if you didn't truly understand the wording of Rimuru's skill, again, he only gives ult gauge to Earth and Space units. So, we're in a Predator battle here, as an example, and we have our 2 previous DPS units from the last 2 EX metas, Milim and Hinata. And they are Wind and Water. And so, Rimuru, I mean, yeah, he's got extra 50% ult gauge right here. But guess what? it doesn't count, because they're not Earth and Space. So he would be really, really good on stacking teams, blue-focused teams like the Fount of Wisdom team, where, you would like to hide an EX ult, and you would like it to change into a blue orb. I mean, yeah, sure, you could use him in that capacity, but his other skill, his big-time skill, is not going to hit anybody on the Fount of Wisdom team, right? Gobta's water, Hinata's wind, Albus is dark, Rimuru's water. I mean, you could throw Guy in there, I guess, but he's not on the category. So yeah, you would give him an EX ult, but he wouldn't really get all of the buffs from the team. So it's like, okay, so you've just turned Guy into your DPS then, so you might as well just run the new meta then. So his limitations are going to show. He buffs 2 metas, of which we just went over that, and Earth is severely lacking. Space has a few more options, but most of them, except 2 of them, don't have a use for, an extra 80% ult gauge. I mean, they can, but it's not going to be as effective as you want it to be. So there's just, a small example of him not being useful in a place where you would generally want him to be useful. Like, if this gave all physical allies, 20, 30, 40, 50% ult gauge, that would be really, really good. But it's not. It's not. So, unfortunate aspect number 1 for him. Alright, so here is where I'm really, really starting to feel the pain of his orb swap costing points in general versus not costing anything to start out with. So we're in the second stage of the raid event, right? And we have a pretty good run going on. We're on turn 3. We have a 6-hand of blue right here. It's going to give us a good amount of points. And so once we kind of zoom through and send everything, we'll get to the second to last turn, which is where everything goes wrong. And it's been happening a lot more frequently than you would think, because you think, like, oh, it's only a 15-point skill. Come on, Joker, it's not that much. But when you use it a bunch of times throughout the match, it becomes more than 15. It becomes 35, then it becomes 55 points. And then it starts to really hurt when it could have been 0, and then it could have been, 20. So here, we're gonna try this out. This is actually almost a very good run for me, because we are able to get our 4th and final stack of Dark Valentine's ult buff right here, so let's go ahead and use that. But we also have to hide an ult, and we got an unfortunate hand where we got a lot of oranges. So what's going to happen here is we're going to make up my damn mind first, because I'm trying to do mental gymnastics in my head. We're going to use the extra ult gauge right here. We're going to use then the final ult buff Would I do something? Jesus Christ. Do I actually use it? Okay, so I use the alt buff right there. And then I use Rimuru's orb swap. And that hit Guy, which is what I wanted it to do. So now we can get Rimuru out of here, because I thought we would have enough points to, you know, use the EX Rimuru, whose skill costs 25, because I haven't used it a single time yet. But now we have Guy's orb change, and we have Rimuru's orb change, and that, we are 5 points shy. 5 points. If Rimuru's orb swap this turn was less cost to begin with, it would have been less cost now to use it again for, I think, the third time, and we would have been good. We would have been fine. We've had a 6 orb send to blues that would have given me 300 points, and it would have been the run for me, because I have 3 EX alts and full buffs waiting for me. But it ends up being not, so we can only send 4 blues, and we get only 183 points, and that, you know, that's not enough. So, like I said, this happens a lot. Like, I was at this for 4 hours last night after the stream, and it all pretty much came down to your skill costs too much. You don't have enough points to do anything else. The game gave me bad RNG to begin with, because it didn't give me a lot of blues. But in the turns where I had blues, and I had the setup, and I knew what needed to happen, I had already used Rimuru's skill too much, so it cost too much, so it threw my point values all out of whack. And then I was out of luck right there. So it will happen to you. 6 turns, you know, granted for this specific team, is not an ideal scenario, because they're built for an 8-turn run, right? They're built for hitting turn 8, and then Valentine's extra crit resistance is able to pop on. So 6 turns is 2 turns, you know, less of what we would need to do, which hampers this team a little bit. But if it happens here, it will probably happen in other places too. And he's meant for a stacking and blue meta. You know, he only gives alt gauge to Earth and Space, which means that the other stacking metas, you know, Water, Light, Fount of Wisdom, they're not going to benefit from him at all as far as getting extra alt gauge. Even, you know, Fantasy Team won't get anything because they're not Earth and Space. You, like I said, you can use him in a space-focused team with, you know, Space Veldora, or, you know, just using Lumi and Violet to nuke. Like, sure, you can do that, but where it counts on his team, unfortunately, he can come up short, and it would all be rectified if his skill didn't cost 15 measly points to start out with, when it does the exact same thing as the Masked Hero's skill, except it's a green orb for her. So I don't understand what made them think of that. Like, yes, the blue focus teams have lots of points, but that doesn't mean you should just nerf a skill, because this is a nerf. It is a hard nerf. Going from 0 cost to any cost is a nerf to the skill when it does the exact same thing as the other one. So it was a terrible design choice, and it has fucked over more than this run in this event. And even fucked me over in Beatdown Battle for 8 turns. Like, I'm just saying, it can work against you in other stages. And it will work against you when you least expect it, but when you need it to not work against you. So it's just something that really irritates me, and I was getting so heated last night because there were like 3 separate times across that 4-hour gap where I had the run, and I was 2 points shy, 5 points shy, something very, very small, which could have been fixed if his skill was 0 cost to begin with. Alright, we're at like the 40-minute mark, so I think this is a good place to call it good. I'll put him on a dedicated Earth team for a different video, but, I mean, you've seen the highs of him being useful, and you've kind of experienced the lows of what he is limited to not being able to do. Now, granted, I think in this specific video, I made him look a lot better than what I've been bitching about on, you know, everywhere, but just know that Earth and space units don't come around very often, and we just got 2 each, which means that for the next couple metas, I don't really expect to get too many Earth and space units, and I also don't expect to get another stacking meta, but I mean, who knows? They went literally a month without a stacking meta, and then they're like, and a new one. So, you know, don't hold me to that too much. But I don't expect a lot of Earth and space units coming out because they gave us 2 each. We don't have another light EX unit. We don't have another wind EX unit yet. Well, actually we do. Shizu came out, but we don't have another dark EX unit. So I don't think we're going to see a lot of value for Rimuru's kit moving on into the future. And I don't think that's a good... I think that's a good reason to, you know, hold people off from summoning right now. His banner will be around until the 4th or the 6th, and by then the next meta will have come and started. And, you know, who knows? Next meta might be the super special meta that the early summer project announcement thing might be. It might be a collab. Who knows? And then you'll have to be like, well, is there an Earth or space unit in there? No? Yes? I don't know. Would Rimuru help that team? I don't know. We'll have to find out. So he'll be around until the 4th. So, I don't know. For an initial video, I think this is a decent one. Let me know what your thoughts are on this Rimuru. Am I being overly harsh? I know a lot of people are saying I'm overreacting, but I just don't see too much value in this guy's kit outside of this specific meta. So, let me know, but that's it for me. Take it easy, and I'll see you all later.